So this is something I haven't done in a while. I've been watching Star Trek lately, and I find it very interesting. I know, it's one of the quintessential nerd series, probably what gave birth to conventions and fandom, and a lot of what we know now in the nerd community. A lot of it started with Star Trek, including slash fiction. I'm not really going to talk about that in this video. I'm mostly focusing on the show, but I do find the slash really, really funny. I've watched videos on that. People smarter than me can analyze it. But focusing on the show, I'm not really well versed in Star Trek. I've seen original series and Next Gen mostly. I have not seen Deep Space Nine, haven't seen the movies. And like I said, not super duper well versed, but I do like it. I can follow the logic of this series particularly well, a lot better than I can in something like Doctor Who. I don't really know why. I think the logic is easier for me to follow. Maybe it's the pacing, maybe it's the actual setups. I do find the ideas intriguing, and I like a lot of their messages. The original series, which is the episode I rewatched, I can't remember the actual episode title, but the plot essentially came from the idea, what if the Roman Empire never fell? So Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are in a futuristic Roman Empire, which is treated like a reality show. They end up getting caught up in it, have to do a gladiator battle, which is a ton of fun. It's really, really cheesy. The acting is cheesy. It's very low budget. But for me, that's part of the fun. I know what I'm getting into when I'm watching Star Trek. I think Next Gen had upped the game a bit in terms of the acting and in terms of the pacing. I think it really knew what it was. And, well, Star Trek was already established at that point, so Next Gen could build off of it. And I'm not going to be one of those, oh, this is better than the other and you're objectively wrong if you have a different opinion. I don't really like that joke very much. I've overheard it, and people get pretty defensive over opinions. I would say the famous Kirk versus Picard debate, I find Kirk an interesting character, but I think in terms of a leader, for the longest time, I think I would say Picard. I do like his charisma. I like his confidence as a leader. I would trust him. I would trust him in any situation. I would follow Patrick Stewart, though I enjoy watching William Shatner too. It's always fun. And I do think the original Star Trek had more of an iconic look to it. But again, they're good for different reasons. So, the episode I watched was very interesting. It's had this kingdom where the kingdom worships the sun, and that's actually a big plot point, which I won't spoil. Don't worry, that wasn't actually a spoiler, but if you watch it, you'll see. And I always wondered where the locations were. It looked like this one was shot on location. Half it was a set, but I was trying to figure out now, especially where movies and films were shot, because a lot of them end up going to the same places. That's always fun to figure out. I did say that I have an easier time following the logic of Star Trek a lot better than Doctor Who. And Doctor Who has interesting ideas too, and strong messages and very iconic looks to it. I can't quite explain why I think I have an easier time following Star Trek than Doctor Who. I don't know, because for some reason Doctor Who setups, I have seen all of Eccleston Doctor, Ninth Doctor, and I've seen a good chunk of David Tennant's run as the Doctor, so I've seen a good chunk of it. At least the stuff that the fandom really, really likes. I've seen a little bit of Matt Smith, too. And I often don't understand where the setups are going. Is it because sometimes they're going into a distinctive time and place, other times they are playing with ideas. There was one Doctor Who episode that was about the Titanic in space, and I didn't get it. I thought it had good ideas, it had a really good ending that it was building up to, and it was a real gut punch. But I didn't understand the setup. I thought, what's the Titanic in space? What's the Are they in another dimension? Is this playing off an idea? I wasn't getting it. I had too many questions with the setup, but in Star Trek, again, oftentimes I don't. They're in different worlds. It's the future. That's consistent. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the consistency of Star Trek that I can follow a lot more easily. The Doctor Who is not bad by any means. At all. I do think it's good. And it's unique and it's fun to watch. It's just hard for me to follow. But I think there's something about the calmness of Star Trek. I like how calm and laid back it often is. I like the idea that, at least for what I was told, that this is supposed to be a utopia that's moved past prejudice and we've been more unified. It's interesting to see what the 1960s interpreted that as. That alone is a very, very interesting idea. So, I'm always interested in talking to people about Star Trek. It always leads to very interesting conversations about humanity, about character, about story, about society. And I feel like you could get a lot about somebody and how they think from this show. I've noticed a lot of scientists tend to like this show. And I can see why. It's a fun show, it's interesting, and it allows you to think.